Welcome to the walkthrough of installing the new Deadline 6 Render Farm client software from ThinkBox Software. I'm your support person Dwight, here to walk you through the process. For this video, we'll be installing onto a Windows 7 Pro system. First, you'll need to obtain the install files, which can be done by requesting them from our sales team at sales@thinkboxsoftware.com, and they will send you a link. Once you have the zip file downloaded, uncompress it to whichever location you want, which will leave you with the Deadline client installer. If you are running Deadline 5 or earlier, you must install the client again. If you do not already have Deadline 6 repository installed, please watch that video first. The client installer will install all the client applications required for submitting, monitoring, and rendering your job. We recommend installing the client on every machine in your network, including workstations and render nodes. Double-click the Deadline installer and authorize it if your user access controls require it. At this point, if your computer does not have the .NET framework, the install will install that for you. Once that is done, it may require a reboot. If you have had to reboot, once .NET is installed and the system reboots, you will launch the installer again and authorize it. At that point, you'll be greeted by the main setup screen. Once you click Next, you'll be brought to a license agreement, which you can read over and accept in order to continue. Next, you will choose your install directory. It is up to you where it will be. You can leave it as a default or choose wherever you'd like. Once you've chosen the install location, the next page will have you identify the location of the repository and licensed servers. If the repository is on another machine, you would enter its network path. If it is on the same machine, you would enter its local path. Typically, we do not recommend running the Deadline slave on the repository machine. If you are running in license free, which is 2 slaves or less, you can leave the license server location empty. If you have more than 2 slaves, you will need to have a license and the license server installed and running at this point. You can enter the license server here in the format of the @ symbol, then the server name without spaces. If the server does not use the default port, you would then add the port number as well at the beginning, for example, 27009 at ThinkServe. If you do not have a license yet, you can contact our sales team for a 30-day temporary license for as many nodes as you need to see how well Deadline works across all of your slaves. Next, we'll be asked if we want to launch the slave when the launcher begins. We recommend having this enabled for render nodes and disabled for workstations. We can also have the launcher start as a service, though that will require a login that has network access. Finally, we are ready to install, and we can let the install run and get the Deadline client set up on our machine. So that installs the Deadline client, and we're now ready to launch the monitor, which we will do now. We will need to authorize the launcher, slave, and monitor to access the network. Now that the monitor is up, we can start throwing renders at our chosen renderer at will. Thank you for watching this video. If there are other aspects of our software you'd like to see explained in video, please do not hesitate to let us know, and of course, please check out our website at thinkboxsoftware.com.